Well, welcome to Thrive Tuesday. We're here tonight with a group of friends, and we're going to continuing talking about friendship and the different aspects of it. So as we begin tonight, we're going to start with a review of what we've been looking at the last few weeks.
Mm-hmm.
So Angine, why don't you help us and give us a scriptural basis of what friendship with God, friendship with each other really means?
Okay. Yes. So we've been talking about actually godly friendship. And, it's one of the most important things that can happen to us, having godly friendship. But having godly friendship springs out of being a friend of God, having that relationship with God. Now, if you go back to the book of John 15:15, where Jesus said, I no longer call you servants, but I call you friends. And he said, a friend, you will do as I say. And one of the things we have to realize with having friendship with God is what we call obedience, because we're going to do what God has commanded us to do. So we've realized that godly friendship springs out of obedience to God. And so if we want to have that relationship with God, we have to be obedient to what he says. Now, on the other hand, I think out of godly friendship, there springs friendship with others. Now, in order to really understand the difference, because there are many kinds of friendship. We have friendship with the world, you have different kinds of friendship. But godly friendship is where there's a relationship between, two or more people. And that relationship, though, is based on truth, it's based on love, and there are no hidden agendas to self. And that is so important. Another thing we will find with godly friendship is that godly friendship never causes you to compromise your morals, and it doesn't cause you to compromise your character or your integrity. And that is so important. Now, many times when we think about friendship, we think about like two people who don't know each other. But sometimes godly friendship springs out of family members, two cousins, aunts and niece, brother and sister, that comes, or even strangers. So we know that godly friendship can come in any ways, but at the end of the day, more than anything else, I think that godly friendship is a heart matter. It is so important. Godly friendship comes out of love, and that's why I say it's a heart matter. Why do we call it godly? Because I believe that as we have the love of God in our hearts, and if we have God in our heart, I find that the friendship that we have is godly towards one another. Now, the Bible talks about in Proverbs 18 and verse 24, it says, a man who has a friend must himself also be friendly. So if we can't be friendly to others, how are we going to have friends? I've come across people who say, I don't know why, but I can't have friends. I can't keep friends. Why? There is something. You have to be friendly in order to have friends. And he said, there is a friend that sticks closer than a brother. We know as believers, there are people out there that are friends to us, that they're not a brother and they're not a sister, but they will go that extra mile for us. And as we look through the Bible, we see so many examples. We see, Ruth and that's a daughter-in-law and a mother-in-law, where Ruth's husband died and she would not leave her mother-in-law. The friendship she had was so strong that even though the other daughter-in-law from the other, from Naomi's other son that died, she went back to her people. Ruth said, no, entreat me not to leave you or to return from following after you. Where you go, I will go. Where you die, I will die. Your people, that shall be my people. And you see that there was something, a deep friendship that was with them. We look at Jonathan and David, my God. They had a strong bond of friendship. And one of the things in those days was that they exchanged robe as a symbol. And that's how strong their faith was towards each other. Their friendship was towards each other. And, it worked out really good for Jonathan, because when King Saul tried to kill him, Jonathan would warn him and say, you know what? My father is trying to kill you. He chose the friendship of David over his father. And that's how much he valued the friendship. And in the end, When Jonathan, when Jonathan died and King Saul died, you find that King David went to look for family members for Jonathan, that he could show kindness and show love because of what? The love that was shown to him and the covenanted friendship that they had. We see that in Jesus. We see Jesus and the disciples. We see Jesus with Mary Magdalene. We see Jesus with, with Mary and Martha and Lazarus. He was a friend. And then more than ever, Jesus was a friend of sinners. Because at the end of the day, he cared for their soul. And that is so important. And so godly friendship, why do we have godly friendship? It has to be the motive, the heart. What is it really about? Do we have hidden agendas, hidden motives, or is that has to do with, the soul, knitting our soul as believers? Now, just one more thing I just wanted to say, that, these times it's so difficult because, we practice godly friendship, I believe, in the church more than any other thing or any other time. And because of, with what's happening and the churches are closing, it's really difficult to maintain at time that godly friendship, because we tend to have that with one another when we get together. And so it's difficult at times. But, we have to find ways in which to maintain that godly friendship with one another, that vertical friendship with God, but then the horizontal with our friends, which is so important. And so in spite of what we're going through right now, we have to find ways in which to keep that godly friendship, because godly friendship is valuable. And so,
Amen.
Yeah.
The things that we learn and from having godly friendship helps us develop healthy friendships with each other. So when our relationship with God is right, we can have healthy relationships with each other. But many times when we don't have that clear channel with God, it affects our horizontal relationships. And I know sometimes some people have different ideas of what friendship really means. So why don't you help me? By Joan, you're smiling away there. What does it mean to you to have a friend? What are the things you look for? How do you know that person is your friend?
Well, I'd say I look for someone who listens to me, someone who makes time, that we can make time for each other as well, someone I can trust, and someone who's there, really.
Okay. How about you, Pastor Carrie?
My friends are people that I know I can be honest with, and they're people that are going to be honest back with me. And so it's not just someone who's going to tell me what I want to hear, but people that will speak in love, but also speak in truth. And so definitely people that I know have my back, and people that are willing to love me despite my faults and my flaws and my weaknesses, but still stick with me through it, but don't gloss over them, but are willing to help me become a better person. The scripture, says iron sharpens iron. And sometimes we let the men use that, but I think that's also applicable to us, that my friends are really people that help sharpen me.
So Angela, what about you? You've got a variety of experiences in life, and you have people from many different places. How do you know who's your friend?
The first word that comes to mind for me is somebody that's real. And usually that's easy to spot if they're a real friend or if they're a fake friend. I look for somebody who's loyal, somebody you can depend on. And I think in different areas of our life, different seasons of our life, then we tend to have different friends. I know one of my longest friends is somebody that I met in college, and she's not a Christian. We have a lot in common, but yet there's a lot of differences. But yet it's somebody that I can go to at any time. And you build relationships wherever you are, whether it's in the workplace, it's in church, it's in your school life. But it's just, as I think Angie mentioned earlier, you've got to be a friend in order to have friends. And you can't expect to have that friendship with others if you're not willing to do what it takes to be a friend to those in need. And a lot of times it's not always convenient, but if you're a true friend, you're always there for each other. And it's showing the tough love, as Pastor Carey mentioned as well, is sometimes that's what a friend does for each other. And that's what you need a friend to do for you. And that's what I consider a real friend, and a true friend is somebody that is loyal and that can show that tough love and is always there when you need each other.
So I heard you say friends are not selfish. So they're not looking for what's in it for me. What can I get out of this relationship? What will they give me? But they're willing to open their heart and give of themselves. So Mabel, do you find you're from a different culture than me? Is there differences in what friendship is, or is it the same? How do you find it?
I find the same. It's the same. Looking for someone who is loyal, who is true, and not pretending or not in it for their best interests, but really a corporate understanding of what true friend is. And I find many a times we kind of overuse the word friendship, because who is a friend? Sometimes we also classify acquaintances as friends, because in my experience, I've experienced that, there are a lot of people that come around and they put on that face as they are friends, but really deep down, they have an agenda, right? So just being able to discern, what true friend is, and you being a true friend yourself will also help you to discern what true friend is. And like Jean said, having that relationship with Christ also helps you to identify what a true friend is.
Oh,
Okay.
my mic keeps getting muted. I'm not sure why that's making that noise. Okay, so do you think that friendship is something that we can have on different levels? So I can have friendship with an acquaintance, but it's not the same friendship I have with somebody that's close to me, that I can confide in. It becomes a different level. It's kind of like going from the acquaintance of the soldiers that David was working with every day to his relationship with Jonathan, where the Bible said their hearts were connected. They had the same passion in life. They were different personalities. They lived it out differently, but their heart was for the same things, and they ran after the same things. What do you think about that?
Yeah, I think that's definitely true. And one of the greatest examples is Jesus with the 12 disciples. I mean, he walked with 12, but there's so many times we see in the Bible where he took Peter, James, and John. And I always wondered, how did he, what made him take those three? What happened to the other 9? Where were they? But it tells us that there was something that was deeply connected to the 3 people, and then there were times when he was with the 12. And so there has to be a stronger bond of friendship. And, you notice also with John, when they were having the Last Supper, how John would lean on his breast. There was something that was close. So I think that there was a level of friendship that he had with the disciples, on various levels than he had with others. And then even we see that even with the disciples, we see that even with Paul when he was traveling, who goes with him. You know, there's so many layers, I think, where godly friendship is concerned. There are times when, you know, the godly friendship can be that you identify with the same ministry, the same kind of ministry. And so you're able to get along well and you can blend well, you know, versus someone who does something else. It's not that that friendship is not good, but you tend to blend more and you tend to identify with each other more, which builds even the friendship that, you know, closer than anything else. So, I mean, there are so many levels to even godly friendship that I think.
You know, I like what you said, Angie. And, you know, sometimes I think when it comes to friendship, we feel like if we're not treating all our friends the same, then something's wrong. But we see that Jesus had the 3 that were closer to him than the other 12, but it doesn't mean that they were better than the other 9. It just, you know, we can't have deep friendship with 100 different people.
That's
You know, and so I think part of it is just understanding who has God brought into my life for this season that I'm going to have those deeper relationships with. And then sometimes we move on to a different season and those friendships fade. And it's not that there's anything wrong with the relationship. It's just we've moved into a new season. And so I think that also comes with having that vertical relationship with God, that we recognize the season that we're in to know where the friendship are that we need to be focused on for that season. And if you're not securing the relationship with God, then if those horizontal relationships start to fail, sometimes there's insecurity that creeps in, and so you don't walk into what God has for you next.
Yeah, that's very good.
Yeah.
I know years ago we had very good friends, and we were all very close. And we were all in the business world. And then we felt the call of God to ministry. And our friends didn't like it. Even though they loved God, they were tremendous givers to the kingdom purposes. But they basically said, we don't like you like this. We want you the way you used to be. But our heart had turned, and we had to serve God and follow what he said. So it changed the relationship. But when relationship is bound by things of God, it may change, but you never lose it because there's still that kingdom purpose. And so even to today, many years later, we are still good friends, but not in the same way we were back then. And who else has got some comments?
So when you were talking about that, Pastor Carrie, I thought about how some relationships, for me anyway, that there'd be a season where that it's not that the relationship went down, it just wasn't that time. It was like a in and out kind of thing where there's folks that I could talk to no matter what. And then for a period of time, it wasn't like that. And then again, I could. And it was a little bit of a different, I don't want to say deeper, but it was just a different dynamic, I think, in the relationship. So that really spoke to me.
Yeah, and as you were talking too, I couldn't help but to think also that we grow as individuals, we evolve, and as we evolve and grow into becoming more of who God wants us to be, our friendship dynamics will change. And God will bring people that will help us to enter into that new season that he has for us. So also recognizing that and being okay with it and being okay to let go, right? For that season, I think that's important. And we need to also be mindful of that, because not that the relationship, there's something wrong with it, but your season with that individual has come to a place where it needs to evolve, right? Where you are evolving. And sometimes you can't carry that same friendship into that new season.
Yeah, that's
And I
true.
think what Mabel said was was very important is learning to let go. And we hear that a lot, but we don't often hear it in terms of friendships. But I think, as many people have mentioned, as we go through different seasons in our life, there's also different areas. And we may have friends from old workplaces. It may be friends from the church, friends that you meet in the community. But I think that the level of friendship is different. And things not only change in our life, but there comes times where there may have been a big change in the life of one of your friends. And that's when the tough love comes in. And if there's changes that they're not, you don't gel the same, then that may be the time that you've got to let go. It doesn't mean you're not there for that friend, but the level of friendship has changed.
That's good. I was thinking, and Jean mentioned that Dave and Jonathan had traded clothes. They gave each other their cloaks. And I'm looking at all of you and I'm thinking, in one form or another, you've either given me a piece of clothes or I've given you, we've exchanged clothes. So I guess we're on the same level as David and Jonathan. So I think that's a good thing. So what things do friends do together when you know your friend? What are the... Shop. Yes, we do. What are the type of things that would give you a signal if you didn't already know? If I came into your group, what things would you be doing that would let me know that just by your actions that you are friends?
I think
have
it always,
fun.
yeah.
Yeah, fun.
Yeah. And building each other up.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah.
And I find a lot of times commonalities in important. Like I find that when I find someone who's really, into the word and off the word.
We can't hear you.
You cannot hear me.
No.
Oh.
Speak louder.
Can you hear me?
Yes.
Now we
Yeah,
can.
Okay. I don't know what happened. So no, what I was saying was that I find that I gel, as they would say, very well with people that have a common interest in the word. The minute I find that someone who's really into the word and love to talk about the word and what the word says and the revelation of the word, it's almost like a magnet. And it goes back to, when two people are like-minded in the same thing, it tends to build a friendship, because I find that, can we talk the word and be on the same level? I love that.
So friendship is always built on common interest, but friendship is not always built on common personalities. So often when I look at some of the friends I've had over the years, most of them are totally different than my personality, but we have the same passion for the same things.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's things we love to do together and get joy out of it. And that's what builds the friendship. I think at the Bronx, we went down there and started helping. I never knew Pastor Diana. She is so different than me. And yet we have a common interest that drives us, and through it has built a great friendship. So what are some characteristics that you think are important that we can leave with whoever's watching that will build a good friendship? What are the things we need to look for? And what are the things we need to do?
I think as believers, first thing, we need to encourage each other in our walk with God. That is so important as friends, that if we see a brother or sister falling, that we be there as a friend to help them, to build them up, to tear them down. Even when people fall into sin, a friend, a brother or sister may fall into sin. Be there to help them, encourage them, be behind them, lift them up. As the Bible said, to exhort one another, every day. We need to do that. Also, friends, as harsh as it may sound, what? We expose sin in each other. We're able to correct each other when they sin. because, faithful wounds are faithful. God is faithful. The wounds of a friend.
Yeah.
We got to be able to not just speak the nice things, but we have to be able to say, listen, this is wrong and you need to change this. This needs to change in you. This is not godly. This is not right. To me, that's one of the things about godly friendship. And then, just enjoy each other, being filled with the Spirit and wanting the things of God. Those are my thoughts.
Pastor Carey.
I liked what Angela, you had said about loyalty. I think that's a really important quality when it comes to a friend, is that we be loyal to friends and then our friends be loyal back to us. Yeah. And then no ulterior motives. And so you're not there to manipulate your friends to get further ahead or to get what you want. But I think honesty and trust and loyalty are some really key characteristics that you need in a good friendship.
Yeah.
Joan?
I thought about being responsible for our own actions, our relationship, and then being accountable to one another. So if I commit to do something and I can share that with a friend, share that with, like even like my brother or my sister, and then they can hold me accountable to say, let me take dieting, for instance, just to watch what I eat. If I say I'm going to not have ice cream, I don't want Ray to bring me home ice cream. So if I keep asking, he's going to remind me that, no more ice cream for this week. Yeah. Just those accountability. And then I know that's a simple one, but just those areas of being responsible for myself, responsible for one another, and then being accountable to each other.
I think
often it is the simple things. Go ahead, Angela.
I think accountability is very important, Joan. And a lot of times you see in the world that I think a lot of the issues we have is there's no accountability. Mm-hmm. And if we can have that accountability among friends, then I think it just strengthens the relationship. Yes. And I think the one thing that we can do to help others is to be a friend. And when people come into our circle, if they feel intimidated, if they feel that we've formed a clique, so to speak, then they don't feel welcomed, right? But if we're showing love towards each other, and they see that loyalty and trust that's built amongst us, and we're open to always being a friend and being there for each other. And sometimes friendships start at the weirdest times, or you develop a great friend of somebody that you didn't know. And I've recently formed a friendship over the past year and a half with a lady that we've had an opportunity to minister with. And now she's almost like a sister to me. We talk on a regular basis. We've got so much in common. And I think it was just one of those God moments that we were open to it. And it's like I've known this person all my life. And we just keep saying to each other, it's hard to believe that we've only known each other about a year and a half. But to me, that's when you know you have a true friend.
Yes. I like what you said, Angela, about, as you all know, I came into BCF new and I felt at home. My husband and I, our children, we felt so loved. We felt like we've always been there. We felt like, the church was like a home for us. And that's one of the things that I really appreciate about BCF, the leaders, Pastor Jill, Pastor Randy, all of you made us feel so comfortable. We didn't feel like an outsider at all. And that is important. Those are the qualities that you look for in a friend. And one of the things that the Bible says in Proverbs is that a friend loves at all times. We came in, some of you have heard a bit pieces of our story, but we didn't feel judged. We felt loved. We felt welcome. And that alone meant a lot to us. And I think that's what a godly friendship is. We don't know one another to that extent, but we love one another with that godly love. And we felt that. So that's one of the things that I really appreciate about all of you, and in making us feel so comfortable and, you know, just accepting us with. I just want to say thank you all. And thank you for this opportunity to be able to, you know, show that appreciation to you all.
So 1 Thessalonians 5:11 says, so encourage each other and build each other up, just as you are already doing. So Paul is encouraging us to keep building each other up. And when you see those that feel like, you can tell when somebody kind of stands on the edge, like they feel like they don't belong. Let's be those that encourage them and draw them in. And at the same time, recognize that everybody doesn't fit every circle. Different personalities have different interests, but there is a place for each and every one to belong. And we can be those to help and draw others out and join them together. So I love you all. I thank you for your friendship for me. And thank you for sharing your few thoughts with us tonight. I hope that it's encouraged those that are listening. God wants us to have friendships that emanate Him and reach our love to Him. And the things I heard you say were accountability, honesty, and to have those things, you need to have trust, because you've got to trust the God in the other person.
That's right.
Just as they have to trust the God in you. And sometimes it's easy to remember we have to trust them, but we forget that they're trusting the God in us. So when we remind ourselves of that, then together we can enjoy life and have healthy friendships. So God bless you all tonight.
God bless you. Thank you.
Okay, bye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.